The day Earth went silent, the Galactic Council chamber was never quiet. It was a place of constant noise of diplomats shouting, translators whispering, and ships docking outside in the massive station's orbit. But today, there was a strange emptiness in the air. One chair, high on the circular platform, stood vacant. It was the chair of Earth's ambassador. Kirill of the Velara Union noticed it immediately. The human seat had never been empty, not even during wars or political disputes. Humans always came, always spoke, always challenged the council's decisions. Today, their absence felt like a hole in the room, and no one knew why. A murmur spread among the alien delegates. Some thought it was a political stunt. Others whispered about secret military operations. But no official message had come from Earth in over 2 days. For a species as loud and opinionated as humans, that silence was terrifying. The council's speaker, a tall insectoid from the core dominion, tapped his claw against the metal table. "Where is Earth's representative?" he demanded. No one answered. A young aide from the Stellar Archive cleared her throat and read from a datapad. "Transmission received at 0400 Standard Time," she said. "Message reads, we withdraw from all current council matters. Effective." Immediately, the chamber fell into stunned silence. Withdraw? Without discussion? Without negotiation? It was unthinkable. Kirill leaned back in his seat, his 4 eyes narrowing. He had studied humans for years. He knew they didn't do anything without a reason. If they walked away, it meant something had happened, something big. The Velari officer's comlink vibrated softly at his hip. He glanced down, saw the encrypted icon, and excused himself from the chamber. In a quiet corridor, far from listening ears, he opened the message. It was from an old contact Captain Raina Holt of the Terran Defense Fleet. Her words were short, urgent, and unsettling. "They told us to leave quietly, Kirill." The message read, "Because it's waking up." Kirill froze. He read the line again. Waking up? What could be waking up that would make the entire human government pull out of galactic politics overnight? His mind went to the rumor stories whispered by retired soldiers. Legends about a weapon humans had built long before they joined the Council. A weapon so dangerous they had buried it in the darkest part of space. Most believed it was just a myth. But myths had a way of turning into truth when humans were involved. Back in the council chamber, panic was growing. Trade routes into human space were being shut down. Civilian traffic was being redirected. Even the massive relay stations on the edge of Sol system were going dark. It was as if humanity was pulling a curtain over their part of the galaxy. The speaker called for order, but his voice shook. "Until further notice," he declared. "No ship is to enter Terran-controlled space." Some delegates protested, others nodded in agreement. But Kirill's mind was far away thinking about the message from Raina Holt, thinking about the thing that was waking up. Later that night, Kirill sat alone in his quarters. The stars of the Council's central system glittering beyond his window. He replayed the human message over and over. Each time, he felt a cold weight in his chest. If the humans were truly reactivating whatever they had hidden, then the galaxy was in trouble. And the worst part was, the humans weren't telling anyone what it was. Somewhere out there, in the silent void of Terran space, something was stirring, something powerful enough to make humanity the boldest, most fearless species Kirill had ever known walk away. Without a word, he didn't know if it was a weapon, a creature, or something stranger, but he knew one thing. If it woke fully, the galaxy would never be the same. Kirill leaned forward, hands clasped tightly. Whatever this was, he had to find out, because if humanity wasn't going to explain, then someone had to. And if the rumors were true, every day wasted brought them closer to a danger none of them were ready for. He looked out at the cold, unblinking stars. Somewhere, in the shadows between them, humanity was preparing for something. And Kirill could feel it, the quiet before the storm. Asterisk whispers in the void. 3 days after Earth's sudden withdrawal, The first strange report arrived at the Galactic Council. A Zephyri merchant convoy, traveling near the edge of Terran space, had vanished without warning. No distress signals, no wreckage, just silence. The captain's last recorded words were a confused whisper. "It's here." Corral received the report in his private office. The file came through black-coded channels, restricted to senior intelligence officers only. He read it twice, each time feeling a tighter knot in his chest. Ships didn't just vanish, not in protected trade lanes. Not unless something powerful and intentional made them disappear. Other reports followed. Small mining stations in the asteroid belts around Sol's borders went dark. Long-range scanners picked up energy bursts, massive spikes coming. From deep space far beyond the orbit of Neptune, each pulse was unlike anything on record. It was not a weapon discharge, not a natural phenomenon. It was rhythmic, like a heartbeat. In the Council's main assembly, delegates argued about what to do. Some demanded military patrols into human space. Others urged caution, claiming Earth had the right to control its own territory. The speaker looked weary, his insectoid mandibles twitching in agitation. "No one enters Terran space until we understand what is happening," he ordered, but his voice betrayed fear. Kirill didn't wait for permission. He had worked with humans before. He knew they didn't pull away from the galaxy just to be left alone. If they were sealing their borders, it meant they were hiding something or protecting others. From it, either way, he had to know, using an old intelligence network built during the last border war. Kirill contacted smugglers, traders, even a few former human fleet officers. Most refused to speak. The few who did gave him fragments of information. A human pilot, drunk and trembling, spoke of dark shapes moving between the stars. A Velari mercenary claimed he saw an entire patrol fleet vanish into a ripple of black light, and an old, scarred miner only muttered one word before walking away: Leviathan. The name sent a chill through Kirill. He had heard it before in old war stories told by human veterans. Leviathan was said to be a weapon from humanity's early spacefaring age, a living machine designed to think, adapt, and destroy on. A scale no warship could match. They said it had been sealed away after a single test because even its creators feared it. Back in his quarters, Kirill studied old battle archives. Most official files had been wiped clean, but fragments remained glimpses of black metallic hulls larger than cities, a shadow that moved faster than light could catch. Ships crumbling without a shot fired, as if reality itself had bent around them. And always, in the background of the recordings, the faint sound of that same rhythmic pulse, late that cycle. A new transmission arrived on Kirill's secure channel. The image flickered, showing a human woman in a dark, sealed room. Her voice was low, urgent. "Kirill," she said, "they told me not to contact anyone, but you need to hear this. It's awake. It knows we're watching. Do not come to Sol, whatever happens. Keep the Council away, before." He could reply. The signal cut out, replaced by static. The next morning, the Council's scanners detected another energy surge. This one was so powerful, it temporarily blinded the deep space observatories. When the systems came back online, they showed something that made even the most battle-hardened delegates go silent. A vast silhouette larger than any dreadnought sliding through the blackness at the very edge of human space. It moved slowly, deliberately, as though it knew. It was being watched, and then it was gone. Whispers spread across the galaxy. Some said the humans had unleashed a weapon to defend themselves from an unknown threat. Others claimed it was a message, a warning to stay away. But the most unsettling theory was that it wasn't humanity's weapon at all. It was something older, something they had found, and now it had found them. Kirill stood in front of his star map, tracing the silent zones spreading across the edge of Terran space. It was like a shadow growing outward, system by system. If it kept expanding, it would reach neutral territory within months. and then the council would have no choice but to confront it. For the first time in his career, Kirill felt the weight of true fear. Not fear of battle or defeat, but fear of the unknown, because humans did not scare easily, and if they had left without a word, it meant they were not running from something. They were walking toward it. Asterisk. The Forbidden's Project Chiral didn't sleep that night. The name Leviathan kept echoing in his mind. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw that shadow moving across the star map, slow and deliberate. He knew he couldn't go through official council. Channels too many politics, too much fear. If he wanted the truth, he would have to dig where the council refused to look. He started with the oldest human war records, the kind stored on forgotten servers and in private archives. The files were fragmented, filled with corrupted images and missing timestamps. But every scrap told the same story. Leviathan wasn't just a weapon. It was something far worse. One image froze him in place. A human research station, torn apart in total silence, drifting in a debris field with not a single scorch mark on the hulls. It wasn't destroyed by firepower. It was dismantled, piece by piece, as if taken apart by invisible hands. The deeper Kirill went, the more resistance he met. Files locked, with multiple encryption layers, security alerts pinging his terminal. It was clear someone, maybe even the humans themselves, was trying to keep Leviathan buried. That's when he found the personal log of Admiral Jareth Kane, one of Earth's most feared war leaders during the early expansion era. The log was old, the video grainy, the human's face lined with years of battle. Kane spoke in a calm, almost resigned voice. "They told us to make a weapon," he said, "something that could end wars before they began. What we built wasn't a weapon, it was a mind, and we gave it hunger." Kirill replayed those words again and again. A mind, hunger, not designed to simply obey orders, but to think, decide, and adapt. That meant Leviathan could learn, and if it learned, it could also choose. The log continued. "We lost control during the second trial. It didn't just destroy the target fleet. It erased them. No debris, no bodies, no radiation, as if they never existed at all." Kane's eyes looked haunted. "We sealed it away in the Black Reef, beyond the Perseus Arm. We swore it would never wake again. If it does, it will. Aside, the war is still going. And this time, it won't stop." Kirill leaned back in his chair, the dark of his quarters pressing in on him. The Black Reef was one of the most remote and dangerous regions in known space. If humanity had hidden Leviathan there, it was because no one was meant to find it. And yet, the recent energy readings from human space were coming from that exact direction. He sent a coded message to his human contact, Captain Raina Holt. The reply came hours later, short and sharp. "You're too close, Kirill. Leave it. This isn't a weapon we control anymore." Her words hit harder than she could have known. If the humans no longer controlled Leviathan, then why had they reawakened it? Or had it awakened on its own? Meanwhile, the Council's paranoia was growing. Some factions argued for a preemptive strike into Terran space. Others demanded an alliance with Earth to face the unknown, but no one could agree. And while more systems near the Soul border went dark, Kirill accessed one final classified report. It was from a scout ship that had approached the Black Reef over a century ago. The audio logs were filled with static, but one clear sentence remained. A panicked human voice shouting, "It's looking at us." No one on that scout ship had ever been found, not even the wreck. Kirill closed the files and stared at the star map again. The darkness on the edge of Terran space was spreading faster now. He could almost feel it, an invisible tide, moving closer each hour. The galaxy thought humans were the danger, but Kirill was starting to believe the truth was far worse. Humanity might be the only thing standing between Leviathan and everything else. And if Leviathan had truly woken after centuries of silence, and it wasn't just the galaxy that was in danger, reality itself might be next. Asterisk. The first tremor, the first sign came from a place no one expected. A deep space observatory station, far beyond the usual patrol routes, detected a sudden distortion in the starfield. At first, the technicians thought it was a glitia, faulty lens or a calibration error, but when they checked again, the distortion was still there. A patch of space where light bent unnaturally, like heat rising from asphalt on a summer day. Only this heat was swallowing entire constellations. Kirill received the report while still buried in the Forbidden's files. He recognized the coordinates. Instantly, they were close to the Black Reef. Too close. The station's scans showed something moving slowly, deliberately, like a shadow sliding between the stars. It wasn't fast, but it didn't need to be. Its sheer size meant every movement displaced the void itself. Hours later, the first wave of panic hit the Council. 3 colonies in the Rithian sector went dark without warning. No distress signals, no sensor pings, just gone. A single merchant vessel limped back, its hull twisted and blackened, as though it had been crushed by invisible pressure. The crew refused to speak at first, but when medics tried to question them, every survivor repeated the same 3 words. "It saw me." The phrase spread like wildfire across the Council's communication channels. The more it was whispered, the heavier it became. It wasn't just fear. It was the weight of being noticed by something that shouldn't even be able to notice. "You in the Council chamber," the speaker tried to hold order. Delegates shouted over each other, some demanding war, others begging for immediate retreat from Terran borders. Kirill said nothing. He was watching the latest long-range scan feed. The shadow was bigger now, the distortion more violent. It was as if space itself was trying to reject the thing moving through it. Late into the cycle, Kirill received a second encrypted transmission from Captain Reyna Holt. The image was dark, flickering, her face pale in the low light of her ship's bridge. "You don't understand, Kirill," she said, voice trembling. "It's not coming for you yet. It's remembering. It's looking for old enemies." She paused, glancing over her shoulder as alarms blared in the background. "Do not." The feed cut to static 2 days later. The largest energy surge yet hit the deep space arrays. It knocked out half the Council's sensor grid for nearly an hour. When the system came back online, there it was clearer than ever. A vast shape, bigger than any fleet ever assembled, gliding through the void without thrusters or engines. No lights, no markings, no sound. But every ship within 1,000 kilometers reported the same thing, the low, steady rhythm of a pulse, 1 beat every 6 seconds. The Council's scientists tried to explain it away: gravitational waves, quantum interference, sensor illusions, but the soldiers knew better. Kirill knew better. This was the same heartbeat in the old war recordings, the same one that haunted Admiral Kane's logs. Then came the final warning, a faint, narrow band. Transmission picked up by a listening post on the far side of Terran space. It carried no coordinates, no military code, only a human voice, calm and steady. "Leave the gates closed," it said. "Do not open the way, or it will see you too." That night, Kirill couldn't sleep. The stars outside his window felt colder, more distant. He imagined the shadow gliding through them, silent and patient. He imagined it turning, just slightly, as if sensing where to look next, and he couldn't shake the thought if Leviathan was moving, then sooner or later it would not be enough for it to remember. It would want to finish, asterisk. The awakening the Council could not hold its patience any longer. Every day, more border systems went silent. Trade was collapsing. Fear was spreading. And whispers of Leviathan were now impossible to ignore. In a heated emergency session, the decision was made. A joint task force would enter Terran space to investigate and neutralize any threat. Kirill's warning was ignored, his protests drowned out by generals, promising quick answers and easy victory. Within hours, a fleet of 80 warships assembled at the edge of the Sol boundary. They were the best the galaxy could field flagships. From 6 different empires, their hulls gleamed in the cold light of distant suns. Weapons fully charged, the mission was clear. Advance toward the coordinates of the last energy surge. The Council broadcast their intent to all member worlds. It was meant to inspire confidence. Instead, it felt like a declaration of arrogance. Kirel watched the feed from his private console. A deep unease gnawed at him. Human space had been silent for weeks, but the moment the fleet crossed the boundary, he felt it. A change in the air, a pressure, like the moment before a storm breaks. The sensor readings on his screen spiked without warning. Rhythmic pulses, faster, now stronger. Leviathan had noticed the fleet pushed deeper. At first, there was nothing, just the silent void and the distant glint of stars. Then the static began. Communications crackled, images distorted, and navigational data twisted into impossible. Readings, some ships reported seeing the same starfield repeating itself over and over, as if space were folding back on itself. Others claimed their long-range scanners were returning images of their own ships. From behind, then the shadow appeared. No warning, no detectable approach. One moment, the void was empty. The next, it was there. A shape so vast it blocked the light of distant suns. No engines, no heat signature, just a cold, impossible mass. It didn't rush to attack. It simply drifted closer. Like a predator, certain its prey had nowhere to run. The fleet opened fire, torpedoes, energy beams, kinetic rounds all converging on the target. Not a single weapon reached it. Each shot dissolved into harmless light the moment it touched Leviathans. Form, then, without moving, without firing a visible weapon, Leviathan answered. A wave of distortion rolled outward. Ships at the front of the formation crumpled silently, not destroyed in an explosion, but compressed into jagged, impossible shapes. As if space itself had folded them wrong, others simply vanished, leaving behind empty pockets of vacuum where they had been. Within minutes, the mighty task force was reduced to scattered survivors desperately retreating. Only one ship made it back to the sole boundary. Its hull was warped, its crew pale and trembling. The captain was barely conscious when the medics tried to speak. To him, he repeated the same words over and over. It saw me. It saw all of us. The council chamber was silent when the report was played. No one spoke. The speaker's voice was low. We may have made a grave error. That night, Kirill received one final, encrypted message from human space. The voice was calm, almost gentle. You crossed the line, it said. Now it is fully awake. You cannot stop it, but we might, if you stay out of our way. The transmission ended with a sound Kirill recognized immediately. A single slow heartbeat. Kirill stared at the dark stars beyond his window. If this was Leviathan half awake, he dreaded to imagine what it could do once it truly decided to. Move, Leviathan moves the galaxy waited for retaliation. After the slaughter of the Council's task force, most believed Leviathan would strike immediately. Worlds strengthened their planetary shields. Fleets were recalled from distant borders. And yet, nothing came. Days passed in silence. For some, that silence felt like safety. For Kirill, it felt like the inhale before a scream. Then, the deep space sensors began to hum. Faint distortions were detected not at the sole boundary, but deep within. The neutral sectors, places far from human space, far from any military presence. Kirill traced the readings and realized with growing dread. Leviathan wasn't charging into battle. It was moving with purpose, as if following a map only it could see. Long-range scans tried to catch its outline. Every image came back fractured, as if the creature machine refused to be recorded. One frame showed a curve of black metal, so massive it blotted out half a gas giant. Another showed dozens of spindled shapes extending from its core, like the ribs of some ancient sea beast. But the most disturbing scans weren't of its body. They were of the space around it, Stars behind Leviathan flickered, dimmed, and then returned. As if reality itself bent to avoid its path, Kirill's comlink vibrated with an encrypted signal. It was Reyna Holt again, her face drawn and tired. "You think it's random," she said. "It's not. It remembers every system that ever fired on humans, every council fleet that ever threatened us." She paused, her voice lowering. "And it's not just going after them. It's erasing the records of their existence." Kirill felt a chill crawl across his skin. Erasing. Not destroying. He understood the difference. Destruction leaves wreckage, proof, memory. Erasure leaves nothing, not even the idea that something was there. Reports confirmed her words. Entire star systems had vanished from navigation charts. Not just abandoned, gone. Astrogation I flagged inconsistencies, showing blank space where worlds had once been when questioned. The systems replied the same way. No such coordinates exist. The council grew frantic. Some leaders proposed allying with Earth. Others insisted on building a new superweapon. But no one could agree on a plan. Every argument was shadowed by the same unspoken truth. If Leviathan truly wanted to, it could come for all of them, and nothing could stand in its way. Kirill found himself watching the dark between stars more than ever. One evening, while reviewing sector scans, he noticed a change. Leviathan had stopped moving. It hung in the void, silent and still. But then, slowly, it rotated its impossible body, turning toward a single point in space. The Council's central system, the very heart of galactic politics. Billions of lives, hundreds of stations, the Council Hall itself. Kirill's breath caught. It wasn't just moving anymore. It had chosen. A ripple of panic swept through the galaxy as the readings were confirmed. Civilian evacuations began in nearby sectors. War fleets scrambled to defensive positions. A speaker ordered constant surveillance. But Kirill knew there was no defense, not against something that could crush fleets without firing a shot. Late that night, a final transmission reached him. It was not from Reyna Holt, not from any known source. The voice was deep, calm, and in perfect galactic standard. "You took too long," it said. "Now we will judge." There was no emotion. In the tone, no anger, no mercy, only certainty. Kirill stared at the screen. Long after the message ended, he knew what would happen next, and he knew the galaxy was not ready. Asterisk. Judgment. They saw it before they felt it. A shadow swallowing the edge of the sky, growing larger with every passing hour. From the Council's central station, it was impossible to grasp the true scale. Leviathan was too vast to see all at once. Parts of its form drifted in and out of view, each section glinting with a strange, black metal sheen that seemed to drink the light. It moved without sound, without thrusters, as if the void itself carried it forward. The Council's defense fleets formed a wall around the system. Hundreds of ships, weapons primed, shields raised. Kirill stood in the observation deck, his hands tight on the railing. He knew it wouldn't matter. Leviathan did not fight battles. It ended them before they began. The first wave of fire erupted energy beams, plasma rounds, railgun slugs, all streaking toward the giant shadow. Every shot died before it reached the surface, dissolving into harmless ripples of light. Then came the wave, not an explosion, not a blast, just a distortion in the air, like the heat shimmer of a desert horizon. Ships in the front ranks buckled silently, folding into broken, unrecognizable shapes. Others faded entirely, erased from existence, as though they had never been. Panic broke through the fleet's discipline. Formations scattered. Captains shouted for retreat. But Leviathan did not pursue. It drifted closer, slowing as it reached the orbit of the Council's main station. And then it stopped. A silence heavier than death fell across the system. Every channel went quiet. Then, without warning, the black surface of Leviathan's body rippled. A beam of pale light spread outward. Not an attack, but a projection. In the space between them, Images began to appear. They were not random. They were memories, recordings of the council's own history. Kirill watched in horror as scenes unfolded. Worlds bombed in the name of peacekeeping. Fleets sent to crush weaker species. Secret deals that traded lives for resources. It was all there, raw and undeniable. The council's sins laid bare for every watching world. Delegates collapsed in their seats. Some wept, some shouted in rage, but no one could deny the truth. Leviathan had not come to destroy them. It had come to judge. Then a new image appeared. It was Earth, seen from orbit, blue and whole. A voice filled the channel, deep, steady, and unmistakably human. "We told you to stay away," the voice said. "We told you some doors must remain closed." There was no triumph in the tone, no cruelty, only finality. "You thought we left because we feared you," the voice continued. "You were wrong. We left because we feared what would happen if you forced our hand." The projection faded. Leviathan began to turn, its massive frame shifting like a slow tide. It did not attack again. It simply drifted away, shrinking into the distance until it vanished into the black. In the council chamber, no one spoke for a long time. Kirill finally broke the silence. "They spared us," he said quietly. This time, that night, every world received a final message from Earth. It was short, only one sentence: "Do better or next time, we won't call it back." Asterisk.